Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you to everyone joining us today. It is my pleasure to introduce one of my favorite warriors, like Lisa said, Beth Bolser, and your pup Dulce. And we're separated here by this plexiglass, but this is the closest that we've been able to see each other in months. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, and it's so great to be in the Memory Matters building today. It's wonderful. I know.
So Beth, many people on the screen are new to you and you're new to them. So would you just start at the beginning telling us what brought you in here and when you came into Memory Matters?
Okay. My mother was diagnosed with dementia in 2014, and I knew that it was going to be a rough road ahead. And I wanted to do whatever I could to help my mother down that path. And I didn't know where to go. I had no information. I was just overwhelmed. And I remember driving down 278 and seeing the sign for Memory Matters. And I said, I don't know what's there, but I'm just going to go in and pop in and see what happens. And I did. And I ended up meeting Karen Doty, and she was so sweet. She took me by the hand and said, come on in, and walked me through and explained everything that they do here. I was so surprised because I knew that they would do things to help my mother, but it never occurred to me that they would do things that might help myself and my father. I mean, I have health issues, so I knew that was going to be a problem. And my father and we're only going to be able to do so much on our own. We were going to need more help than that. I never realized that they would be able to help us as well.
Yes.
So it was really great. And I wound up walking out that day feeling, I'm not going to be alone in this. I'm not going to be alone. As a matter of fact, I walked out feeling more empowered than I could believe.
That's the word for it. That's the word, empowered.
It was. I thought, okay, I can do this. Absolutely. Absolutely. I knew that the tools and the resources that I needed were right in here. As a matter of fact, as soon as I walked out into the parking lot, I called my sister in Connecticut and I said, I found somebody that can help us with this. It was wonderful.
Excellent. Well, and Beth, you just mentioned finding a treasure trove of resources. So could you describe some of those resources for us of what you took advantage of while with Memory Matters?
Sure. It was interesting because a lot of members of my family took advantage of different things.
Yep.
Everybody kind of had their own place that they were with this. Some people lived here, some people didn't live here, and we all had different things, different sources that we took advantage of. My father, he lives on the island, and he ended up going to the men's group.
Yes. Yes.
It's a support group for men. There's a men's only group and there's a women's only group.
Right.
And there's a co-ed group that I went to.
Yes.
My father also wound up using the lending library. That was great.
Yes.
There's all books in here that you can borrow. And there is a special one that my father particularly loved. It's called Coach
Broyles' Care Book for Caregiver Alzheimer's.
Yeah, tell them about that.
So Coach Broyles, he was a football coach with the University of Arkansas, Frank Broyles, and he cared for his wife who had Alzheimer's. And so he created this book that many of our families like, but basically it's just a bullet list of information regarding communication or regarding eating or shadowing, sundowning, and it just kind of gives you the basics. Just gets you the basics.
Right, and it's all said in football terminology.
Yep,
so my father loved it. It made so much sense to him, you know. It was great. And then, you know, when my siblings came down, they were out of town, so there was only certain things they can do. But when they walked through here, Memory Matters actually gave them a phone number and said, look, anytime you have any questions, just give us a call. They were shocked.
I think we got to meet almost all your siblings, right?
Yeah, I think you did. Only one. I think the one from Minnesota didn't make it.
Okay.
But the rest of everybody else, I think, actually got in the building. Yeah. Absolutely. It was great. And then my aunt, my mother's sister, lives up in Massachusetts. and she was trying to find some resources up there and wasn't able to find any. So I had told her that there was a class coming up down here, Dementia Dialogues.
Oh, Dementia Dialogues, yes.
Yes. And I said, well, do you think you might be interested in going to it with me? And so she ended up planning her trip around Dementia Dialogue so she could come down here and enjoy the class.
Her trip was planned around our timing.
Yes. Yes.
Is this Aunt Eileen?
Auntie Eileen, yes.
I remember she was in our support group.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. Tell her hello for me, by the way.
I absolutely will. Absolutely. And her daughter came down as well.
Yeah.
And we all, were able to get the information that we needed to get started on this road. And of course, my mother, she took advantage of the program.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, watching the music,
John Ratliff's music, yep.
My mother loved the music parts of it. She would always tell me on the way home exactly which songs were played. And I would ask her about the instruments, and she would describe the instruments to me. It was great. She loved it.
Florence was a gold star. Florence is Beth's mom. She was just a gold star, and she would come in with this bright, bold smile, very sweet disposition, would host the table sometimes of the other ladies. But yeah, she definitely lit up when the music was going.
Yes.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
And Dolce and I would come and pick her up after school, and we would have such a good time on our ride home.
Nice.
It was
Very
wonderful.
good.
And then, of course, for me, I used your services as a counselor. Ashley is phenomenal at helping us with problems, and as well as the caregiver groups. But the thing that helped me the most was the virtual dementia tour.
The VDT, Virtual Dementia Tour.
Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So the Virtual Dementia Tour is a dementia sensitivity program where we compromise your senses a little bit. We might have something over your ear so you can't quite hear what we're saying to you, something over your eyes so you can't quite maybe see clearly. And then we had you go through different tasks, Beth, like setting a dinner table or matching some socks in the laundry.
Right. It was great. It really changed the way that I helped my mother from then on, because I was able to understand it so much better.
Kind of in her boots.
In her boots. Absolutely.
Boots on the ground experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I do have a question for you, if I may, and it's kind of turning it on its head a little bit. But could you imagine what your life would have been like if you hadn't had Memory Matters involvement?
Wow. That's really hard to imagine, to be honest, because it was such a lifeline. You don't know what to expect when you get into this. And Memory Matters took care of so many things for me as I went through it. Really, the thing, it wasn't as much about me. It's more about, I think, about my mother. Because had I not taken advantage of all of this and learned what I did here, she would have suffered so much more. I wouldn't have been able to communicate with her the way I did throughout. It was huge.
Well, it's powerful to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And, no one's prepared for Alzheimer's. You're going through it. And just as soon as you think you have everything figured out, everything changes.
Yeah.
For example, you remember the hurricanes, right?
Yes, 3 and 3 years. I remember the hurricanes.
And each time my mother was at a different stage in the disease. And so she had one more thing that I had to do. I remember sitting on the sofa and thinking, did I get everything? Did I figure it all out?
Right.
And next thing I know, the phone rings.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh no, who needs something now? And I answered the phone, and it was actually Memory Matters calling to see if I needed help with anything.
Good.
It was wonderful. The support.
Excellent.
Every time I needed help, there was a hand there reaching out to help me when I least expected it.
The lifeline, like you said.
The lifeline, absolutely. And the same with the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were so afraid that we were going to lose Memory Matters. The fear that we were going to be on our alone again. Nope. Nope, Memory Matters wasn't going to leave us out there on our own.
We quickly figured it out. Yes,
We did. We absolutely did.
So I'm watching our time a little bit, Beth, and you know I do that all the time in support groups.
Yep, absolutely.
But I do have one final question for you, and that is, we have a wonderful opportunity right now with so many of our friends on camera with us today. Is there anything that you would want to say to them?
Absolutely. I want you to know that the people that use the services here are the people that are in your neighborhood. They're the people that are outside walking the dogs. They're the people that are sitting next to you in church. We're all your neighbors. This is the community. And you'd be amazed at how many of us wind up here, unfortunately. So everything that you're doing is supporting us. And we are so grateful for everything that you've done. And personally, for my family, I really would like to thank all of you, all the staff, all of the supporters. I don't know how my mother would have made it through without everything. And especially I would like to thank all of the people who cared for my mom while she was in here. It meant a lot to me. So just know that we are forever in your debt.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you, Dolce.